Soviets and Soviets, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Rangru, hello.
And folks, taking a break from the more common maps to go over here to Tali Ihantala. And today we have a bit of red-on-red action. Rang, who do we have?
Well, on the left-hand side in the blue, we have PaladinLepa playing 29th Tankovy with a V for victory income. Right-hand side in red, we have Stan playing 6th Territorials with a V for victory income as well.
So, 6th Territorials, this is obviously the first time we've seen over here. There's a feud for Transylvania DLC material. Now, you and I were talking a little bit before, kind of talking about this here. Another one of those kind of polyglot divisions, isn't it? We have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a whole lot of what everyone has lying around. Is that a fair way to kind of put it?
Yeah, it's another pretty strong, very infantry and artillery-focused division. But yeah, you do have some of that Soviet stuff mixed in because they did press the Schritz team button. They have really good infantry as usual for Romanians. Their main problem is, well, they have a lot of T-3485s, but it's the only tank they have, which is pretty expensive. So they don't really have a whole lot of cheap armored fire support, which as we've seen 1v1s can be a bit of an issue.
Sweet mother of pearl. The Granatieri over here are just brutal. Brutal. Is that the Romanian copy of a Bren, or is that, do I have that backwards? There's three of them in those squads. It's ridiculous.
Technically, because it's like it's a CB, which I believe is the Czech company, and the Czech company is the one which came up with the Bren.
I honestly did not know that. So apparently, I got fact checked on that one. But Granatieri over here is moving behind a nice little kind of sniper squad that also has anti-tank capabilities. So Stanchikovsky over here taking a very strong early position, certainly bringing in, well, a little bit of artillery, which is kind of nice. We haven't seen a whole lot of that in recent weeks.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good push here from Stan. I do like having the leader in between all of that as well, because especially having big infantry groups and treating them like a platoon, when you have the leader, works well. And especially this is a rather weak point in Paladin's lines. Really just two Maxim guns, which are now no longer in a great long-range position. These Granataries can pretty easily pick this up and get that flag.
Exactly, and if they don't, then, well, the Mahdi's right behind him with frags, so he's ready to go. So the same could kind of own up. I was going to say the same could be said for these Ogmuchiki squads are going to be very much put out by all the Mahdi. They're sitting at the north-central side of that map.
Yeah, in a pretty good defensive position. Yeah, of course, one satchel charge will quite easily blow up his two-man flamethrower team, so it is very good that Paladin was able to get a foothold in this sector of the map. We don't really, it's been like bloody forever since we've seen Tali Ihantala, which is a shame, because I honestly quite like this map. Because especially in this northern side here, it's very important for Paladin to get that tip of the forest. Because that would deny enemy anti-tank guns being placed here. And also, if you can fight the infantry fight, which I don't think Paladin will be able to, it can prove to be a good place to push.
It certainly can. I mean, both sides over here being very tentative, kind of understandable. Of course, V for victory, you don't want to be kind of going too hard too quickly, because you can set up yourself up for momentum over here in Phase B that you can't carry on. So it's kind of an intriguing idea to watch both sides try to play the econ game, trying to balance being a little more aggressive, but at the same time not really going too aggressive. It's a very, very delicate balance to walk between.
Yeah, we're noticing that Paladin's really just investing a lot more on fire support units and getting them on the field. We've got the M10 to Valentine's. He's got a decent little fire support basis just behind him in the center here. Where we're seeing Stan kind of flex a little bit, getting all his infantry out. I mean, he's got one very easy flag down south, Phil. Yeah, those strokies are going to go in recaps, yeah. But like you said, very steady, very tentative. I'm guessing this is going to turn a little bit into an artillery war, as both sides are investing a decent amount, especially Stan, into the artillery party.
For now, yes, absolutely. I'm kind of curious to see, will there be an anti-tank gun brought in? Because that M10 does control the road. So, not sure that we'll see maybe that get pushed back very quickly, but there is always that possibility you might be able to maybe sneak one in. Maybe that receipt, that 75 mil, and that central position, maybe moving it northwest just a smidge, get eyes on, and kind of push.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless, please, yes.
No, yeah, just a cheap anti-tank gun would work.
Seeing a little bit of a, let's say, minor push coming on forwards, but at the same time, we are seeing Stanchikovsky bringing in a brace, really, of 100mm guns, at the same time as PaladinLepa brings in a couple half-tracks backed up by Strelkys and Superiors inside. nice call, actually. I mean, he's got the PTRSs, so he knows that any kind of light vehicles he can definitely push back. He's got, well, he knows that the 6th Territorial over here is not going to be strong in that armor asset, so why bother?
No, yeah, I really do like his little superior strokey push, because this is also a rather weak position in Stan's line, and that's definitely going to relieve a little bit of pressure from the center. Yeah, if he can rush on through, get that flag farm complex where like Calarasi mottos are located, and then get some cheap tanks to zone out in the more closer field areas, he can do well. There's a 75mm anti-tank gun, which is now slowly pounding away at his half track.
Yep, and picking off that, actually, not for nothing, killing those half tracks, killing both half tracks. Ooh. Yeah, this push is now dead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he caught in perfect time in the stroke. He's forced him to unload, and yeah, it's pretty much goes the element of surprise. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. Actually, the 100 mils as well brought on in their first salvo. They took out the artillery piece on the opposite side, so all that fire support that we were expecting to see, well, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain at this point, like. It's like every single European artillery piece has been modeled in this game. Like all the Russian, I mean, you've got Czech guns. There's so many reared artillery. It's tangent. Like so many reared artillery guns in this game now, Khan. I'm fairly certain like every single one is now represented in game.
Actually, I'm pretty sure there's one that hasn't been represented, but that's just because it was so old they never thought they actually had to do it, and that's for the Finnish divisions. I'm just going to nitpick there because I'm pretty sure it's like an 1896 artillery piece somewhere around, but you know.
There's probably someone at some point in World War II using a Napoleonic cannon in combat.
Oh, wouldn't surprise me.
It had to have happened.
Speaking of a bit of a cannon duel, there's actually the PaK-38's engaging the M10 to the north. And the M10, not going to say he's caught out per se, but those weaker HE values do see him get taken out by the PaK-38, who puts a shell into that chassis, and he goes down, down, down.
Yes, he does. And that's going to give Stan a pretty good position to rezone the north. Of course, Paladin is the IS-2 division. He has IS-2s available, and he brings in the IS-2. So the IS-2 in his northern portion of the map is going to be absolutely deadly for quite obvious reasons. And in regards to Stan's anti-tank, he does have those 75 mils, which do slap quite a bit. That does have the potential at closer range to knock out an IS-2. And, okay, he does have cluster bombs as well, so he has options.
Yes, he does. I do have to say, though, good God, those 100 mils are brutal. Just like the munitions truck and the artillery piece, one shell takes out everything.
Yeah, which is right, keep your munitions away from the thing lobbing the munitions.
True. Now, down south, actually, PaK-38 and the 47 mils are engaging that Officer T-3485. You actually really don't want to lose this. Just, forget the fact that it's a T-3485, but the combat buffs that you're getting out of that, really, really worth packing up, and he's not going to go anywhere at this point.
Yeah, even though those guns, so the PaK-38 does have a chance of killing him. Yeah, the 47 mil was just being a little bit too annoying there. And the T-34 will actually be able to back out, it seems. He just got, quite a few dings to his frontal armor.
That's true. And that those transmissions are not going to drop like they get used to. And down south, when we were looking away at long last, I think it was, what the heck was that down? That was Calarasi Moto, I think.
Yeah.
Gets taken out by the Strokies that were able to be very, very aggressive. But the 75 mil does have that indirect fire roll, and he is using that to rather good effect. Yeah,
I mean, that 75 mil is just, it's kind of the MVP of anti-tank guns. It does everything. Anti-tank, anti-infantry, anti-artillery. All it needs to do is shoot down airplanes, and it's good.
That is fairly accurate. I also didn't quite appreciate all of the radios that are actually on the field over here for the Romanians.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say terrifying.
Division pretty good, because you have all those artillery guns, like he's 100 mils. They're cheap, and they have radios. The radios, as we see time and again, so important, because it doesn't matter if you're a crappy 1930s artillery gun or a top-of-the-line run, you're still going to be just as accurate. An artillery gun's an artillery gun.
That is certainly true, and you can see that happening right now. All three guns putting fire down to the south. There is a newly called in 76 this over here on here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see batteries getting retrained. We actually already have stovepipes being brought into the central position as well, which I really, really like that call.
Or 2 Yak 9Bs, and I know its target. One big fat Stalin.
Yes, indeed. But you know what? Just because Stalin had a couple of extra, ruples around the middle, let's not go and shame him for that. I think that's a little bit inappropriate. But Yak 9's the first one going to get kind of fallen off here. Second one, he's going to get the bombs. Oh, no. Oh, no. Does not get the bombs off at all. But the IL-2 recon, he is going to get eyes onto that artillery piece. He's lost one down to the south, but one remains, and he's going to use that to engage as quickly as possible. The anti-air positions, and then that 76-2. Good call.
Yeah. I'm very happy, BF-109 does go down, how Paladin has set up at this early stage of the game, because it's usually quite tempting to buy IS-2 sooner, but no, he invested his points in getting an actual decent anti-aircraft net before getting the IS-2, because, well, when Soviet player or enemy player sees big heavy tank, they're going to bring out Yak 9Bs. So you need to be able to have your anti-aircraft net ready to keep your big fat tanks alive.
I actually didn't know you were allowed to do that. I thought it was one of those things that if the second you can afford, you must bring out IS-2, and you must not stop bringing out IS-2 until IS-2 is so dead.
Meta.
Yeah, very much so. We are seeing a tentative push here. I said tentative because I don't think it's going to go very far, but the idea is there.
I do like what he's doing with the multis, like moving them along the northern side. He can pretty easily capture out one, actually maybe 2 flags if he just locks down that forest. And as the infantry heavy division, he does have that capability.
Yes, he does. So the 76-2 is going to get brought out. Ooh, a little Katya's here. So we have ourselves a Katyusha that's on the field. One more shell might be coming in to take out that 76-2. Couple of rounds, he might fall back right into it. No, they're falling long. Okay. But the Katyusha is going to go and obliterate that northern 100 mil pretty darn soon.
Yeah, this is just turning into an artillery war. It's, to be fair, this is a little bit more of a static map, especially if these V for victory incomes, like you mentioned earlier. Whoever can just bring in the more indirect DACA will probably be the victor in this case.
At least to begin with, for sure. Then we get to Phase C. I mean, at long last, technically the Romanians can finally bring in an actual tank. Until now, they didn't have the opportunity to do that. And, oh, by the way, they had no light vehicles anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of bizarre to think that the heaviest vehicle that you have is a Yak 9 for the first 10 minutes of the game. But, there we are. 100 mil gets taken out the absolute last rocket. That's a shame. Damn indeed. But 2 are down here to the south. Both of these guys are desperate to try to find firepower that puts them onto another 76. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think whoever it manages to get, let's say, that first strike off and then keep that first strike is going to do very, very well. And that central position you were talking about, we're down to a 15-9 against. Those Mahdi's are very, very effective.
If he can just keep the fight within the forest, because the problem, if he engages outside, Paladin can bring in all his fire support, infantry is exposed, but those Mahdi's, you just keep the forest fight in the forest. Use those satchel charges. I mean, those Mahdi's are actually nuts. They got 2 MG-34s, Trove Man Squad, TNT, good SMGs. Like, the Romanians have some top-quality infantry.
Yes, they do, and their officers are brutally effective in anti-tank. They're brutally effective in just like straight firepower in every single way. And wait a second, the 75 mil was engaged in the IS-2 for half a second there, and then apparently thought better of it, so it disengages.
Smart move.
I agree.
Just gonna hold fire right for the IS-2 to get a little bit closer, and then give them a surprise shot to the side.
Probably a good plan there. One thing I'm kind of surprised by not seeing more use of immediately is these 60 mils in the center part of the map. I feel like these guys probably have the range to engage Superiors. Yeah, they should. 1500 range, right? 1800 in fact. So yeah, they could definitely do that.
Yeah, he definitely wants to be using them, considering just how bunched up Paladin's infantry's here. But no, the Mahdi's in defense will be enough for the time being to hold off the outpost. And yeah, stands in a very lovely position. He's got a 15-9 point advantage. He's got a very strong infantry position in the middle. And for Paladin, he does have a lot of fire support on the field. Dan is also starting to bring up even more. He's got more of those 100 and 150 moves on the field, and T-34 does go down. I think the problem for Paladin is just having the infantry to try to start clearing out positions.
Yeah, and that's the kind of question here, isn't it? Because we're going to phase C, which is that Strokies galore and Automachikis galore. In fact, I think that's 60% of infantry is in C. Is that about right there?
Yeah, that seems about right.
But Valentine's over here in the meantime still on the field, and those guys, despite it being closer and closer to February, it's still not Valentine's Day at any point. Oh, which is such a shame. Because, just, again, tanks that you want to do well, but just, they're never going to do well.
Yeah. And I think our problem as Rokan is we always want the really odd tanks to do well. And, well, that's a very good reason they're odd tanks.
Indeed. I mean, we have yet to see an effective Yak 9B run, which has unfortunately not been able to do anything really that appropriate. Northern Katyusha hitting the southern positions, and actually, I kind of like this cross-map shooting. This is actually kind of great in my mind. One, it forces out any kind of counter-battery fire to take a very, very long time to kind of go re-sight and actually be aiming to the north. Two, I think it kind of forces your opponent to assume that you're just being very, very mobile with all of your artillery support, so he might lose what the other one is down south. So, and three, I mean, frankly, who doesn't like seeing rockets red glare firing from the other side of the map down to the opposite side?
So it's really boring when it's just coming from a single direction. You got to spice things up,
Yes, it's very, very true.
Yes.
Full artillery truck down south, an ammo truck, does go down. But another 150 being brought on in over here for the Romanians, even as the Kalarasi Motos over here will be able to push back these Strokies.
Yeah, and I think he really needs to start maybe splitting up his artillery pieces a bit. Especially with just how it's not too bunched up, but they're a little bit bunched up. I understand what he's trying to do, keeping him near his Ford V8 sedan commander. The commander must be very happy with his choice of vehicle here. But as you see, just by being this close, these threes, which aren't the most heaviest of artillery guns, are actually doing some damn effective counter-battery fire.
Yes, they are. Actually, me seeing that Ford V8 sedan makes me think of Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, which I can go from 0 to 60 kilometers an hour in 12.8 seconds.
Whoa.
And I even like the color. PTRS is going to get a nice little cheeky kill over here in that 1917 Ford, but the Kalarasi able to dive out before their entire squad gets murked by a PTRS, and looks like that brave PTRS squad. Das Vidania, Comrade Duskin. You're going to be dying very, very soon. But things...
Really?
Wow, wait, what the heck?
He's still alive.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, the cast is cursed.
Well, it was very, very bizarre to see him that he's still alive there. Katyusha now aiming for the center, aiming just randomly for the anti-tank guns. I think he's actually afraid of that. I think that's what's keeping the IS-2 very, very static. But he doesn't do anything more other than to kind of stress out of it.
Yeah, actually, quite surprising. And honestly, a good thing for Stan is better for that to get hit in his artillery battery. And especially considering even the IS-2 up north can flex, it's going to be hard for Paladin to actually get into the juicy flag areas with his current division. Just the lack of infantry is really hurting him.
At least for another 60 seconds. And then at that point, the floodgates will open, and we will see Automachikis and Strelkis galore pour onto the field. Unfortunately, they won't be bringing their half-tracks with them, but they're, at least they'll be there. So. But the 60 mils continuing to do nothing. Razvedka's being picked off by the Granacheries, and this Maxim gun's still going to be enough to pin down everyone, as just all of those automatic rifles are just, light automatic rifles are just brutal.
Yeah, Stan's probably, I think, maybe overextending a little bit, pushing up his infantry from that position. He doesn't have a whole lot of fire support backing him up, and as you can see, just that one Maxim gun is doing some damn good damage.
For the time being, for sure. But he's at 17-7, so maybe what he's trying to do is just kind of go for that demoralizing victory. And I don't mean take tons and tons of flags, but rather take just enough such that... That was weird. So Superior died to the north central, and then the Mahdi that killed him surrendered.
Surrendering to corpses? Like...
Yeah. Weekend at Comrade Bernie's. But what I was about to say, so it's 15-9, it's 16-8, you know, things like that, hopping back and forth. There's a massive airstrike going over here. These guys going after the T-34-85. And IL-2's being dropped in, trying to find the Katyusha.
Damn, that's a heavy aircraft investment here from Stan.
Which has done nothing so far.
Make it? No, god damn.
They've done nothing.
No, IL-2 gets, really effective anti-aircraft net here from Paladin. His Southern anti-aircraft net is like 137 mil.
I just get the feeling right now, this is very much, you know, they're attacking the Death Star and staying on target, and every single time he's getting pounded. Just pounded and pounded and pounded.
They need to use the Force.
They do. They do. Unfortunately, the LAF is using that different kind of force, the force of physics, and sending them burning over here to the ground. Ground fire not helping these IL-2s. The flying tank apparently surrendering to those particular forces here very, very soon. And the LAF, well, that was the last LAF for him. He goes down as well.
Gets picked off right at the end, yeah. But yeah, it's not looking too great here for Paladin. I mean, that little suicidal infantry push from Stan is actually working. He's meant to get some Granataries into the opposing forest line there. And he just has a very good defensive position because, well, all his geographical locations are infantry because it's forest. And so it works well for him.
And the 60 mils, they're not firing any of their HE, but they are firing smoke. So, interesting decision. I'm still happy to see it, but these pioneer assaults getting across the road in the meantime, and once you bring in the guys for barbecue, I think, pop a beer open. Like that's saying an awful lot right there.
Yeah, another T-34 goes down to the 75 mil, and there's just slow and steady push here from Stan is working absolutely well. I mean, just looking in the center is not... Paladin has a lot of fire support, just doesn't have a whole lot of frontline support.
Which is weird, because he had that IS-2, which put a little bit of firepower to the north. Trying to think about this now, I mean, of course, hindsight being 2020, would it have been better to have him being to the south-central side, or are the sight lines that much better for him in the north?
Yeah, at north he's more effective, but he can't really take advantage of that effectiveness because it's all forest fights once you get past this open field. Down south it's more dangerous for the IS-2, of course, as there's a bit more close quarters, but you could have actually done some damage here and still be a big threat because it's a big donking heavy tank.
It certainly does seem to be the case. And it also seems to be the case that the Valentine's getting constantly bullied over here by the Pak-38. And these 76-2 ZIS-3s, again, love these guys to death. Unfortunately, they've not been causing the amount of death that they need to. They've been very, very good in terms of picking off artillery pieces. In fact, I think they've also killed that sedan. Yes, that sedan has certainly bit the dust. I think we're seeing the last kind of spiteful barrages over here, so we're heading to the final 80 seconds of life for PaladinLepa.
Yeah, he's not doing too great. Honestly, you can probably just take it to a times 2 at 2340.
Absolutely, sir. But, same time, it does look like those Romanians made a good call over here, switching sides, because they've given a lot of great DACA, and they've used it almost beautifully into here. I say almost beautifully, because I think there's been a couple of times that they could have maybe been a little bit better about the deployment of some of their anti-tank materials, but that's just me nitpicking.
Yeah, it definitely also shows that we're still very much in a very infantry-focused meta in SD2. Infantry is really the name of the game, the king of the battlefield. Having a lot of good quality infantry available, even if you lack anti-tank or tanks, you need it to hold ground, because as you see, if you hold those infantry-favorable positions, and your opponent, they may have all the artillery in the road, they may have heavy tanks, but if they don't have dudes who are ready to get into the thick of things, you're going to have a bad time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At the end of the day, you can't do anything more than put boots in the ground. And actually, looking at the KD here, it looks like about a standard game, but if you think about it, I don't think that Stan actually lost any vehicles. And I think the biggest thing he lost was a couple of airplanes, because I don't think he brought a single tank in.
No. I don't think he really brought in a single tank. I mean, you got the C-34s, but they are expensive. And you can just buy more anti-tank guns, especially considering he was playing a very defensive game.
Yes, he was. You can look over here in the meantime. Losses over here. Wow. Yeah,
One page.
it doesn't. You can't even move it. It doesn't move.
He got like a few big picks, but wow, that's actually quite funny. That's been a while. I don't think we've ever seen like a one-page kill report on like a proper map.
And no, I don't think so either. And I don't think I've seen a game where there wasn't a single tank brought in by the winning side either. So really, really well done over here for Stan. I'll doff my hat to you there, Stan. Yeah. PaladinLepa, I'm sorry, Holy Orders apparently weren't working this time. Maybe next time, that oath of moment could be a little bit more effective for him. But any final thoughts there, sir?
No.
In that case, folks, until next time, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.